Good morning, everyone. It is um, Saturday morning, July 5 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is where I live. So, obviously, I don't commute to Regina. That's exactly why this is an asynchronous course, meaning there are no class scheduled times, no Zoom times, nothing. It's a course um, that you, the student, decide at what pace you want to go. Now, obviously, there are deadlines and you have to meet those deadlines. Um, but outside of that, no regular courses at all. So I've already had a couple of students reach out and ask me about that. No Zoom times, no Teams times. Reach out to me when you have questions. But other than that, you're good. You're good. So I'm Kevin Young, obviously. I'm the instructor for the course, and so this is leadership, um, and with a specific focus on reconciliation in Canada, which is a major topic, and um, certainly become much more focused upon within the country since 2015-ish and the release of the TRC calls to action. As promised, I will do sort of a walkthrough of this course. Um, the course opened on July 2nd, so we're 3 days in. So, not too obviously not too far into the course, but as I mentioned in in my email, there's only a certain amount of time that you have with this particular course. I think everything wraps up by the third to fourth week of August, and therefore this is half the time that this course is normally taught, but you have the same number of assignments and the same amount of reading. Um, so there's more pressure on you to get the work done. Of course, the advantage is you're done in 7 weeks as opposed to 14 weeks. There are pros and cons. So let me go to the course homepage. And this is what the course homepage looks like. Intro, Intercultural Leadership, summer of 2025. And you can see there's a short introduction here. We have a news forum. If you click on that, we've got the welcome to the course, and then of course this information that I posted a couple of days ago. And if we back out of there, we have the social forum, and then we have course email, and then very neatly laid out, you've got important student resources, and then week 1, week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that's it. Usually, as I said, there would be 14 weeks. This is much, much smaller. And I thought there was, let's see, I had posted the welcome, um, but please feel free to just do a brief introduction of yourself, and you can post it in here. I thought there was somewhere where I had seen that, but maybe I've lost it. Anyways, um, the, the, you know, there are downsides, there are pros and cons to asynchronous courses. Um, one of the pros or advantages is if you enjoy working on your own and working at your own speed, then asynchronous courses are fantastic. If you enjoy working with others and working within team environments, then asynchronous courses not exactly the best, especially this course because there are no team assignments, no group assignments. It's all individual, and that's by design, by the way. I'd given quite a bit of consideration to whether there was a way to do team or group assignments within this course. but it gets complicated for reasons I won't waste your time with right now. So all of the assignments are individual. Um, However, that doesn't mean that you cannot use the social forum, for example. You can go in there, you can feel free to talk about anything that you wish. I mean, if you baked something recently, if you did a recipe or and you wanted to share that with the class, you can. It's a social forum. I encourage interaction between students because outside of that, you really don't have much interaction with other students. So we go down. I'll leave the important student resources to you guys to explore. But if you click on week one and here, oh, there we are. So it's the first thing here. Class introductions. I knew I had seen it somewhere. So it just says, please feel free to introduce yourself to your classmates. You can include such information as the following, and you can include more information if you want to. And look at that. We have quite a few students who have already said hello. Fantastic. Wonderful for doing that. Those of you who haven't, feel free to do that and feel free to communicate with each other. And then the next thing is by far the most important document in this course and really in any other course at all. It is the course outline. Without this, you wouldn't get very far. So you click on that, you open it up. Let's see here. Not sure why that little window is there, but anyways, I'm not sure if you can see that. It's kind of weird. Um, Okay, I'll just make this a little bit bigger. Please move this window away from the shared application. I don't know what that is exactly, but anyways. So here's the course outline. We've got the title, we have the dates, and wait, screen sharing is paused. I apologize. I'm not sure why it was doing that. Just give me a second here. Okay. Um, so you should be able to see the course outline now. Has my email address. I respond to emails 7 days a week. I mean, the fact that I'm doing this on a Saturday morning is testament to that. So 7 days a week. You want to reach me? Feel free. Fire off an email. We have the name of the book. Our Shared Future Window into Canada's Reconciliation Journey. Relatively cheap. You can purchase it in a bunch of different ways. You can buy a digital copy, you can buy a hard copy, etc. You can buy it from Amazon, but you need the book. You can't do this course without having the book. So you need the book and you need to buy it as quickly as possible. We have the course objective. I will let you guys read that. I will let you read the format. The learning objectives, I will let you read that. Obviously, anything that is highlighted is extremely important. So let's start with plagiarism and cheating. Don't do it. Do not use artificial intelligence to help you write your papers. Do not get friends to help you write your papers. It is not worth it. If you get caught, then if you get caught, then your paper goes to the dean. There's an investigation, and there can be consequences. And more importantly than that, you're cheating yourself when you use artificial intelligence or someone else to help you or what have you. You're cheating yourself because ultimately this is just a course, and ultimately university is just university. It's a small snapshot in time. And the way you're cheating yourself is if you don't write your papers yourself, if you don't actually spend the time applying your own critical thinking skills, guess what? When you leave university, you're not going to have great critical thinking skills. And that may come and bite you down the road in a job. And you don't want that to happen. So I will help you. If you have issues with writing, if you have difficulties with writing, let me help you with that. I'll give you advice, but please don't cheat. It doesn't help you in the end. Uh, and it may help you short term with a grade that you want, but long term, it doesn't help you. You're robbing yourself. Um, Deadlines are there for a reason. If you don't submit by the deadline, 10% is going to be deducted every day that goes by. And I don't make exceptions. And considering we are 3 days into the course, um, consider this the warning. I don't make exceptions unless you have a letter of accommodation from the university. I don't make exceptions. So, if you reach out to me on the day of the deadline or after the deadline, again, unless you have a medical accommodation, and even if you have a medical accommodation letter, you're supposed to reach out to me before the deadline. So I don't make exceptions. And the reason I don't make exceptions is because employers don't make exceptions. So if your boss says that on Friday you need to submit a report and you don't, they're not going to make an exception for you. Technically, you can get fired for not doing what your employer asks you to do. So this is in part preparing students for what the real world looks like. And the real world does include deadlines and doesn't always necessarily include exceptions to that. So just please keep that in mind. And we'll talk about the deadlines and when they are. Put them into your calendar, start working in advance. Try not to leave things until the last minute. If you do reach out to me asking for an extension, the answer will always be no. That's it. It's always no, unless you have a medical accommodation letter. And that's how it is. And I treat everybody the same way. So it doesn't matter what's going on in your life, um, in the sense that you can reach out to me and you can tell me you've got terrible things going on. Lots of people have terrible things going on. Uh, and if I treated you any different, then I would have to give an extension to absolutely everyone. And then that throws everything out of whack. Okay, so hopefully that is understood. Writing resources, obviously, there's the Student Success Services Office. Accommodations, if you require an accommodation, please contact the office. Um, and then assessment grading. So in this course, you have a total of 5 assignments. You have 2 reflection papers, each worth 15%, totaling 30, as you can see, the very first line here. You have a reconciliation proposal worth 15%. You have a reconciliation plan worth 25%. And you have a portfolio that is worth 30%. And if you add all that up, it makes 100%. So that's pretty straightforward. 5 assignments. The reflection papers are talking about, what you have learned. It's a reflection paper. You're thinking about, after a certain period of time, what you've read, what you've watched in videos, et cetera, and you're commenting on what you've learned. The proposal and plan are a little bit different. Each of these 5 assignments does have a small description here, or a short description: reflection papers, proposal, reconciliation plan, and the portfolio. But these are not the instructions. Okay, this is just a brief description of what these are. The instructions are found in week 5, week 8, week 9, week 10. In other words, within those weeks that I'll take you back to, as I clicked on week 1 as an example, that's where you will find the instructions for the assignment. And I'll show you that within this video. So there are 5 assignments, and please look at this. If any one of these assignments is not completed and submitted, the grade for the course is NP, not passed. So it's very, very important that if you're going to take this course and you're going to do it and you're going to go all the way to the end, at the end of the 7 to 8 weeks, make sure you submit all 5 assignments. This is extremely important because last term there was a student who forgot one of their assignments and the course was over. All final grades have been submitted. I had no choice but to give that student an NP. And obviously that was devastating to that student. And they asked, is there anything I could do? And I said, no, I mean, the course is over. You have to pay attention. Okay. And then we have in black and yellow and bold and asterisked this section here. In-text citations and references following APA are required for all assignments. The course text, in other words, Our Shared Future, the book that you're going to buy, is your primary source for your citations. Other readings and viewing materials will be secondary sources, but the course textbook is the number one. You're free to use other sources outside the class, but that's in addition to your primary and secondary sources. Now, if you've never heard of APA and you don't know what I'm talking about citations and references, don't worry, I will tell you about that. And by the way, that information is found in week 1. There's a folder that says APA, and so you definitely should read that, but I will comment on that. And then we scroll down, and now we have this, the course schedule. This is where it all happens. This is extremely important. So you can see it's broken up into the weeks, and you have the readings in the middle, and then, of course, you have assessments in the far right-hand column. If we take a look at the weeks, you can see week 1, July 2nd to 8, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7, August 13 to 19. Okay, so the 7 weeks are there. Then you have all the readings and videos and things like that all in the center. And then finally on the right-hand side, the column that is so important to all of you is what are the assignments and what are the deadlines? So you can see in week 1, there's nothing. Week 2, there's nothing. Week 3, there are some leadership surveys that you can complete. You don't submit them in week 3. You submit them in week 7 at the end of the course, and you submit those leadership surveys along with your leadership portfolio. But you do complete them in week 3, and they're just surveys, okay? However, as you can see right below the surveys, there is a reflection paper, and that is due July 19. Notice at 4 p.m. Okay, so today, Saturday, July 5, your first assignment is due July 19. That means, basically you've got almost 15 days. So you've got 2 weeks before your first assignment is due. But as I said, you have to have the book and you have to have read the book, specifically the chapters, as you can see here. Week 2 is where you would start reading, and chapters 1 and 2, and then by week 3, read chapters 3 and 4. So technically, before you write your reflection paper, your first reflection paper, which is due Saturday, July 19, it would be great if you have read chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you haven't read all 4 of them, it's not the end of the world, but you definitely have to have read some because you're supposed to be incorporating information from the textbook into your reflection paper. Then the next week, week 4, you can see you have another assignment due Saturday, July 26th. That is the reconciliation proposal. The following week 5, you have the reconciliation plan due August 9. Then in week 6, you have your second reflection paper due August 15. And finally, you have your final leadership portfolio due August 22. So leadership portfolio is due August 22. That's 1. Reflection paper 2 is due August 15. That's 2 assignments. The reconciliation plan is due August 9. That's 3 assignments. The reconciliation proposal due July 26. That's 4 assignments. And finally, the reflection paper number 1 due Saturday, July 19. That's 5 assignments. Okay. Now, this is where you might feel some pressure because that's 5 assignments in the space of July 19 up until August 22. That is effectively 4 weeks, and you have 5 assignments that are due. So, you do the math on that. That's an assignment a week, a little bit more than that. It's very different from the 14-week course because there are large gaps of space in between. But as I said, the advantage is this is a compressed course. So within 7 weeks, you're done. And you walk out with the same information, the same education as the people who took 14 weeks, but there's more pressure on you to get the readings done and the writing done on these assignments. And for that reason, it is best to start working on these assignments and on the reading as quickly as possible. That's why my email of a few days ago said, buy the book as quickly as possible. Read the course outline, as well as the course schedule, so that you can start plotting what your workload is going to look like. Because if you do nothing until July 18th, and then you have to start reading, and then you have to start writing your first reflection paper, then what's going to happen is every single week almost, you're going to have an assignment due and you're going to feel the pressure. So instead of that, because today's July 5 and because you don't have anything due until July 19, work ahead. Buy that book. Start reading ahead. Start taking a look at the various weeks. Start working ahead and start working on your assignments ahead of time, because that will make it easier for you and less stressful. Okay, so that's the course outline. Now let me I'll just close that. And here we are. Okay, so we're back in week 1. And by the way, I mean, this is, sorry, let's take you to the course, right? So each week looks like that with the boxes, right? So week 1, if you click it again, it closes, click it, it opens. So you've got your class introductions, the course outline, of course, we just went through. The Truth and Reconciliation, 94 Calls to Action. This is an article. Read this. It is amazing information. It is lengthy, but read this as soon as you possibly can. And then there's an assignment grading rubric that basically tells you the kinds of things that I'm going to be looking for when grading papers. And then this little folder here that says APA. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the course outline about in-text citations and references. So there are 2 documents There's an APA document, it's a page or 2 pages that talks about American Psychological Association guidelines and what that looks like for a paper. And then there is the sample APA paper. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to open the APA document. I'll let you open that and read it on your own. The most efficient way for me to teach you what APA really is to open up this sample APA paper. So I'm going to open that right now. This is a paper that I was involved in writing quite a few years ago within a team, and it talks about Sir Richard Branson. That was the topic of the paper. Okay, so we're going to scroll down. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. And so you can see it's an academic paper. It's got paragraphs, right? Here's your first paragraph. You got your second paragraph. You can see each paragraph begins with an indentation. You see how this is indented from the side. So the rest of the paragraph is all aligned on the left side, but the very first sentence is indented by an inch, and that is part of APA. But more importantly than that, what is a citation? And the answer to that question is found right here. That's an in-text citation, and you will see them almost in every single paragraph. Here is another in-text citation. Here is another in-text citation. Okay, so what is an in-text citation? Well, the first thing is within parentheses, you can see two things. You can see a name and you can see a year. The name is the last name of the author. The year is the year of publication. And why is it here? Why is it in this paper? Why is it in this first paragraph? And the answer to that question is, so whoever wrote this first paragraph, I don't know if it was me. It might have been other team members. I don't know. But for the sake of argument, let's say it was me that wrote this first paragraph. So the sentence that comes before the in-text citation is this sentence here. You can see that it's the sentence that comes before the citation. And what that means is that assuming that it was me who wrote this first paragraph, when I was doing the research for this paper, I came across information that told me that Branson is known to promote and offer, I'm just reading what's highlighted there, a greater number of vacation days, flex time, and paid time off than other companies. And when I read that, that was new information to me. I wasn't aware of that information. And that information came from Gallo, which could have been a book, it could have been an article, honestly, I don't remember. But Gallo was the author, and the article or the book, the publication year would have been 2011. So instead of me stealing that information and just putting the sentence down and not putting an in-text citation, which would then tell the reader, whoever reads this paper, they would be like, oh, well, Kevin clearly knows that information. Instead of stealing that information, I am giving credit to where credit is due by, in the parentheses, saying Gallo 2011. That tells the reader, I didn't come up with that information. I wasn't aware of that information. I found that information through Gallo in his or her 2011 article, and I am giving credit to Gallo by putting the in-text citation there. And that is what an in-text citation is. It is giving credit to where credit is due for information that you did not know. The person who's writing the paper, you weren't aware of that information, and you're giving credit to the author. You scroll down to the next paragraph, you can see there is another in-text citation. In this case, there were two authors, Branson and Benioff, and 2012. Again, the sentence that comes before the in-text citation is new information to the person who wrote the paragraph, and so they are giving credit to these authors. And if you go through the paper, you will see there's probably one in-text citation for almost every single paragraph that is in here. And as a guide, that's not a bad idea. It's not that every single paragraph has to have an in-text citation, but if you use it as a guide, then what you're demonstrating is critical thinking. How? Well, because if you don't do any research and you just write your opinion on something, then that's not really critical thinking. But if you read some articles, you watch some videos, you take information that is new to you, and you synthesize that, you combine it in your thoughts, in your brain, and then you start writing. And when you're writing, you're combining information that you already know with new information from articles, from the textbook, from videos, et cetera, and you're putting it all together. That is critical thinking. So that's what in-text citations are. And you scroll down, you'll continue to see them. And finally, at the end of the paper, we have what is called references. They are not the same as in-text citations. References are always found on the last page of an assignment or a paper. They're titled references. They are listed alphabetical order, and they are all of your sources that you used to write your paper. So they're categorized alphabetical, as you can see, Allen, Branson, Cash Martin, et cetera, And in this day and age, because most people use the internet to gather information, this first one is an example. Scott Allen, it's an example of how we pulled information from the internet, and then this is telling you how to actually write it properly. So you've got the author's name, year of publication, you have the title of the book or the article, which was Richard Branson, the rebel billionaire and the ultimate multipreneur. Where was it found? About.com was the website, and it was retrieved October 11, 2012 from, and then you provide the link from where you got it. And, in the olden days before the internet, of course, you would go to the library, and you would pull the information and you would write a little bit differently. But because most people are using the internet these days, this is how you would list your references. Again, always on the last page, alphabetical, and that's what it would look like. Okay. And so that's what references are. And further above, that's what in-text citations are. And this is academic writing. This is what would be expected within universities, at least within this course, that you know APA and you know how to cite information that you are reading, and you know how to also include that information in your references. And basically, when you take a look at any of these paragraphs that have a citation in it, like this one here, again, as a reminder, you're taking information that, some of it you may have known, but you're also taking information that is new information, and you're giving credit to the authors, and you're combining all of this information, and that is what is producing critical thinking. Okay, all right. So let me go back to week 1. And so that's APA. All right. And if at any point you have any questions about in-text citations or references, please reach out to me. As a reminder, in the course outline, it says APA citations and references are expected for all of the assignments. So you got to be reading the book at minimum, but also paying attention to articles and videos that are found within the course. Now, to close week one, you simply click it. Usually, it's weird. Oh, I see. I had to click outside of it. Okay. So then week two, you click it. It's got readings, got some videos, link on reconciliation. Good. I was just making sure that that link actually worked. If you do discover any links that don't work, please let me know. We have an honoring Indigenous women and the role that women played in the Indigenous culture. And you click outside of that to close it. Week three, click it. More readings. What is leadership? Here are the surveys that you do in week three, but you don't submit. You submit at the very end of the course. And finally, reflection one. Here is your very first assignment that falls within week three. You click reflection one, and here all the instructions. And at the very top, it says it's due Saturday, July 19 at 4 p.m. And then it gives you information on how to write your first reflection. And then, of course, you submit it. I back out of here. Click outside of week three, that'll close it. Week four, readings, review of leadership styles, colonial policies meaning Canada over 100 years ago, probably 150 years ago, the Canadian government decided that they wanted to assimilate Indigenous peoples in the country. And this is where the residential schools were built, the apprehension or kidnapping of Indigenous children from their homes. And they were taken to these residential schools and essentially told and taught how to be like Europeans. Because, of course, Canada, Indigenous peoples were here in Canada first, and then European settlers came over. And that was the history of the residential schools, which you will learn within this course. But insofar as this week four, you will see another assignment, the reconciliation proposal. You click on that, due Saturday, July 26th, and then there's a whole bunch of information on how to write this assignment. And again, I'm always available 7 days a week. You reach out to me if you have questions. I'm happy to answer. And this is how you put together your proposal. I back out of that, and we look at week five. Readings, more readings, reconciliation, the role of leaders, and obviously the take on leadership. And then the reconciliation plan, which is I guess that would be the fourth or third assignment that is due. So the plan would be the third assignment. The plan basically follows your proposal. And if you forget about this course and you just think about a proposal, the word a proposal and the word plan, the difference between the two is I am proposing to work on this. And whatever this is going to include, this information. That's a proposal. In other words, it's kind of hypothetical. It's a proposal. It's what I'm targeting. It's what I'm envisioning. The plan is actually bringing it to life. Okay, so that's the difference. And it's a very common question that I get in this course. What's the difference between the proposal and the plan? The proposal is giving some thought to, what you want to do regarding an action or an initiative related to reconciliation. So it's giving some idea and putting those ideas down and throwing it back to me and saying, this is what I'm proposing to do. I think it's a good idea, but I'm not sure. What do you think? The plan is, once I've provided feedback, the plan is, this is what I'm going to do. And it's, again, bringing it to life. So it's the plan is in no ways it's supposed to be hypothetical. It is supposed to be telling me this is what I'm going to be doing related to leadership and reconciliation. Uh, and um, and therefore, when you're building your proposal and whatever your plan is going to be, I mean, your plan is supposed to feed off of your proposal, but you're allowed to change your mind. So should you submit an assignment, should you submit your proposal, and I tell you, well, there's some challenges with this, and it could be quite complicated, and it's not very realistic. You're allowed to change your mind, and then when you write your plan, you can use a different idea if you want. Um, but within this course and the writing of the proposal and the plan, it's supposed to be something that you actually can do. And realistically, it's supposed to be something you will do. And that makes it different from other courses, because other courses that you take, you write a paper, you submit it, you get a grade. This is supposed to be something, the proposal and the plan, it's supposed to be something that you take very seriously, that you're passionate about, and that you will actually do. You'll see it to fruition. You'll see it happening because you led it. And that's the major difference between the proposal and the plan versus other courses, is that I want you to make this happen, and preferably within the 8 weeks that we're together. That's my preference. If it can't happen within the 8 weeks and it happens this year, okay. But if you're talking about something that's going to happen after you graduate in 3 years from now, that's not very useful, and really, it's not realistic. So. So that's the proposal and the plan. Read over the instructions and start giving some thought to what you might be able to put together. And again, I'm always available. You can run ideas by me. So that's week 5. Week 6, more readings, a second reflection, which follows essentially the same instructions as the first reflection, and then finally week 7, where there is the leadership portfolio. There are portfolio instructions that you follow, and the leadership portfolio is you bringing everything together. In other words, all of your assignments. You put your reflections in to one document. You put your leadership surveys in. You put your proposal in. You put your action plan in. Um, and so you put all of this in. There's also an essay, a short essay within the portfolio, and you submit the entire package to me. And that's what the portfolio is, and that is due, I think, as I said, August 22nd. So that is an overview of the course, knowing simply how to navigate, finding the course homepage, going into the various weeks, looking at the deadlines. Always have that course outline available to you, along with the course schedule that has the deadlines and each of the assignments, etc. Buying the book ASAP and starting to read it ASAP, right? As soon as possible. That is so important. In fact, it might be the most important thing you do, is buying that book, Our Shared Future, and start reading it right away. And of course, obviously the other readings, etc. Okay. All right. So I think, that's basically it in a nutshell. You guys are left to go through the course as you wish. as it is asynchronous. I'm available as a resource, as I said, 7 days a week. You reach out to me whenever you want. And it doesn't have to be just email. If you want to have a Zoom call with me, we can have a Zoom call, talk about, reflection paper or proposal or whatever. You can also fire off an email saying, hey, you know what, for um, my reconciliation proposal. This is what I'm thinking about, but I'm not entirely sure. What do you think? Because ultimately, you want it to be realistic. You don't want to try to sell me something I know you can't do. So, as an example, if you say, well, for my proposal, what I want to do is I want to change the entire education curriculum within the province of Saskatchewan. And I want to make sure that moving forward, all grades, starting grade 7, for example, um, receive information on the 60 scoop and on residential schooling. While very honorable and extremely important to education, I will turn around and say, how exactly are you going to do that? Do you know the premier of the province? Do you have influence with the cabinet ministers and specifically the Minister of Education? Right. So I'm going to ask these questions and you won't be able to defend it because you'll say, no, I don't know the premier. And you're right. I can't make this happen. Right. So whatever your proposal is, it's supposed to be realistic. You're supposed to be passionate about it. And it's something really you should be able to do because I want you to do it. That's the point. I want you to take the proposal, create a plan, and be able to actually do it so that you can lead an initiative that is related to reconciliation and you can be proud of what you've done. That's the whole point. So if you choose something that is so huge, like changing the education system within the province, it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. And I will say that. I'll say this is hypothetical. So therefore, you can choose something very small, something very manageable, and that is fine because sometimes the things that are the smallest are the most realistic, right? And things within your control. Anyways, I've taken up enough of your time on a Saturday, if you watch it today or tomorrow. That's the course in a nutshell. Again, I'm available over the next 7 to 8 weeks while you go through the course. And I wish you the best of luck. You will learn a tremendous amount. I, um, I, I'm 53 years old, and growing up in Manitoba, I can tell you that my education, um, from what we used to call elementary school to junior high school to high school, nothing. There was no mention of residential schools. The church, specifically the Catholic Church, and the 60s scoop and the Canadian government and the apprehension and kidnapping of Indigenous children from their homes and forcing them into schools and eradicating their culture and their language. There was no mention of that at all while I was growing up. And the first time I had heard of it, I was probably, in my 20s or my 30s about colonialism, etc. So this is a fantastic course that really will open your eyes. There is sensitive information, so please keep that in mind as you read through and watch videos. And you can always reach out to me for assistance or go through the school should there be information that is overly sensitive and you're having difficulty with. Um, but it is important for all people who live in Canada and really the world to know about the true history of Canada, and it shouldn't be a secret anymore. So with that, I leave you. I look forward to working with all of you. It's a large class. Usually there are 40 to 50 students, so there are a lot of assignments that come in. And please keep in mind everything I've said. And if you have any questions at any point, just reach out to me and I'll be happy to assist you. And I wish you the best of luck with this course. Have a fantastic weekend. And I'm sure I'll talk with some of you soon. Bye for now. I will close this and wish you the best.